Sort of military presence does the U.S. have in Turkey, and what role has Turkey played, if any, in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan?
The Air Force Base in Incirlik, Turkey is a major supply route, stopping point for supplies to Iraq. I believe 70% of supplies going to Iraq go through Turkey. I think one of the things that the President will be talking with Turkish officials today and tomorrow is how can Turkey help more in Afghanistan. Turkey has over 1,000 troops in Afghanistan, and it's one of the NATO countries that has been helping the United States.
How does that play at home in Turkey, in a nation that is predominantly Muslim?
Well, it's to Turkish interests that stability does exist in Iraq. If chaos overtakes the country, it's going to bear consequences on Turkey. Now, northern Iraq, where you have the predominantly Kurdish population, Turkey's the #1 country in investment and #1 trade partner.
Along that Kurdish border with Iraq, are there still disputed areas that Turkey contends that this is their country, or are there still points of conflict between the Kurdish people in northern Iraq and northern Iraq and Turkey?
Well, there's no dispute between the Kurdish people of northern Iraq and Turkey with regard to territory. The dispute is on terrorism, that the PKK terrorist group uses bases in the mountainous regions that border between Iraq and northern Iraq and Turkey as havens, and then slip across the border to conduct terrorist acts against the Turkish people.
President Obama in Turkey today. The Associated Press reporting that the president says he's looking toward Turkey as an ally to help bridge the divide between Muslim nations and the West. He joined President Abdullah Gül at a news conference this morning after talks in Ankara. President Obama saying he wants to build on, quote, what is already a strong foundation. He said relations between the two countries have for too long been defined on mostly military and national security terms, but they must also work together on the global economic crisis. Let's hear from Arlington, Virginia. Good morning, Democratic caller.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
With regards to Armenia-Turkey relations, I understand in the last 2 days, President Gül has announced that there's no plans in the near future to open up the border between Armenia and Turkey. And in fact, Prime Minister Erdogan has focused once again in saying there are all sorts of preconditions in warming up Armenia-Turkey relations, including resolving the Karabakh conflict and, of course, once again denying the Armenian genocide. So my question is, isn't this in fact, once again, all the reports by the Turkish government of the warming of relations, just essentially a charade and a ruse to try to get third countries like the United States to continue to their complicity in Turkey's genocide denial?
Well, first of all, again, you use the word genocide, and no one's denying massacres and killings of innocent victims in Turkey during that period. Secondly, the Armenian foreign minister is coming, I believe, next week to Turkey for discussions about border openings.
Moore, Oklahoma. Good morning, Republican caller.
Good morning.
You're on the air with us.
Okay, I served in the military in Korea in 1962, and there was a Turkish compound not too far from our compound, and we used to interact a lot and everything like that, and it was really a unique situation. We always enjoyed the Turks, and they really liked peanuts, so we used to always carry a big can of peanuts around when we were sitting there talking to them. But in the area over there, we had, like, around our compound, we had 10 feet of concertina wire around our compound, and the Korean slicky boys at nighttime would come through the fence 10 or 12 times. Around the Turkish compound, they had one strand of concertina wire, and they didn't have a problem at all. Now, this probably was because that they didn't tolerate a whole lot from anybody coming into their compound. I remember in one incident where that they caught a thief in the compound, and they hung him up at the gate, and they just left him there for a while, and then finally everybody complained about it, UN forces and all that, and they took him down. But they didn't have any more, problems there. Now, as far as the United States went at that time, we had a very bad policy in North Korea, and John F. Kennedy was the president at that time. He took all the ammunition away from us to make us look a kinder, gentler army. And after 9 GIs were killed, and the last one evening came over and visited us, and he was shot that night by a North Korean patrol. Then they gave us our ammunition back, but only for a short time. Then they reduced it back down to 1 magazine. And so our policies and the Turkish policies were, they were a lot stricter and hardline than we were. But we need to get back to a little bit of hardline on ourselves. As far as the Turkish people go, I think they're great people. I think that they've strived to done a lot, and they're a strong supporter of the United States. And everybody's always talking about genocide with the Armenians and everything like that, which is a bad deal. Don't get me wrong. But we also have a couple of words in our history that are kind of bad, too, manifest destiny.
All right, Oklahoma. Any reaction to our...
I concur with what you're saying.
President Obama this morning, just a short while ago, held a news conference with President Abdullah Gül. He made some comments to reporters. We're going to show you some of what the president had to say, and we'll be right back.